This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. Happy New Year. The meeting tonight is being recorded and broadcast by eMedia on Charter Channel 193 and live streaming on their webpage, easthamptonmedia.org. Councilors and participants in this meeting are gathering hybrid on the order extended until March 2025, allowing us to do so. I remind both the members of the City Council and the public participating remotely to remain muted until recognized by the City Council President. Also, for the members of the public, please remove your camera for the duration of the meeting unless you are participating in public speak time or the public hearing. Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. Barbara.
Connie Denham. Here. Salem Derby.
Present.
JP Kaczynski. Here. Tom Peake.
Here.
Brad Riley.
Here.
Cameron Smith. Here. JT Terrell. Owen Zarrett.
Present.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's my commitment.
And we're going to take a short moment of silence. Okay, thank you. We do have minutes from our December 18th meeting. I would entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And anybody against? Abstaining? No. Okay. All right, we have public speak time. So now is the time to address the council on any topic that is not on the public hearing agenda. Just remember to address your comments to the council, keep it to 3 minutes, and let us know your name and address for the record. If anybody is interested, please go to the podium or raise your virtual hand.
I want to hear, following up on something that was in another.
That way everybody can hear you if you can.
Hi, I'm Marvin Ward. I live at 515 Kelly Street, apartment number 413. Of course, I'm part of the, starting of that. I'm wanting to call about any progress with the speed limit. Because I was part of that, and I haven't heard any news about anything happening. So have you started working on it or what? I don't know who's in charge.
But what I can say is that during public speak time, the councilors, because of open meeting law, we can't respond to you, but I think, if you'd be willing to, I'm sure we have your email, we can just shoot you an email or we can talk to you after the meeting and let you know the progress and what committee it went to.
Okay, and a question that I also have is that when I was here then, there was just an interim police chief, and I want to know if that's still the case or if there's somebody new. It's still the same person? No, not the same person. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I also have a problem with with this Cottage Street, and that is the noise. Nobody is doing anything to keep the mufflers down where they belong, or motorcycles. And last night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard a big crash. And it sounded like something fell off my wall or on ceiling or something. And it wasn't, it was something outdoors. And I wish we could do something to put some kind of signs up saying, this is a residential area. It's not as busy, industry anymore. And we need to have quiet because people are trying to sleep. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Anybody else like to address the council?
Hello, Carolyn Cushing, Main Street, District 4. Oops, got my remarks up here. I'm come as a member of the public who's been observing the council over the past 7 years to speak to what has been named as toxic culture on the city council. What I observed at the last meeting and have also seen in years prior is that when critique is raised, there is often deflection of the issue, minimizing of the concern, and/or turning blame for the problem back on the persons or groups raising the concern. Receiving critique is not comfortable, but most critique does come from a place of wanting to make things better and as an expression of wanting to be involved in making that happen. Since we are messy, imperfect people, we don't always express it perfectly. Occasionally, critique offered by an individual is unfounded or unhelpful. But when there is a pattern, that's what I see, a pattern of defensive response to critique offered by multiple individuals over years, this unhelpfully maintains the status quo, including of systems and institutions that have their roots in oppressions of all sorts. Racism, sexism, it's a long list. The roots are deep, so we can't always see them and be aware of what they are operating. We often react, especially when we're stressed or uncomfortable, out of unconscious bias. I know that white supremacy lives in me as a white person, and even sexism and male supremacy shape my consciousness as a woman. I'm always trying to shake myself free of these. My personal identity or even history of activism on these issues doesn't mean that I don't mess up, don't need to integrate feedback about how to do better. In the December council meetings, I saw this pattern play out with the deflection, minimizing, and blame shifting around sexism, especially during the discussion of stipend raises and overriding the mayor's veto. I'm naming this now, I'm here saying this, as an invitation for positive change going forward. I hope to see critique that is offered being reflected upon and for behaviors to change. I hope to see male counselors supporting women counselors. If those raising critique are criticized and blamed, this will not be acceptable behavior. We, the public, are watching. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, Erin Sullivan, 17 Mayor Street. I'm here to address some unexpected and disappointing defensiveness from counselors during the last two meetings while discussing gender inequality related to the proposed increase to the mayoral salary. A proposed large salary increase generally looks bad while we're in a deficit, and it looks especially bad when the current mayor, who is a woman, is leaving office and we're suddenly talking about an additional $30,000 in compensation for the role. Over time, but still. I've heard that several men are exploring running, but it sounds like they would not admit to more at this point. Gender pay inequality, better known as the gender wage gap or gender pay gap, is not unique to Easthampton. In fact, it is a very thoroughly evidenced and well-documented phenomenon consistently seen across industries and spanning the globe. These studies also show that the disparity is often due to unconscious bias, not explicit discrimination. It's built into our society at this point. Knowing this, anyone in power should use their influence and authority to interrupt and make things right. Some self-reflection on why it didn't occur to anyone to increase the mayor's salary, pay for the position, not the person, in a similar incremental way prior to any elections before this one may be a worthwhile exercise. And if it just never occurred, then that is also part of how this all works. It's never easy to hear that you may have unintentionally supported a system that disenfranchises certain groups, but it's your responsibility when presented with this information to listen and use this knowledge to do better moving forward. I would encourage counselors to not hear critiques of systems as personal attacks and instead view them as invitations to work together. That's the type of culture that's going to get you more diverse members. And I do believe this this council is capable of that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anybody online? Okay, seeing none. We are at 6:09, so it looks like we can go to communications from elected officials, boards, and commissions. Does anybody have, Councilor Zarek?
Just really quickly, the Bees Committee, it's the Biodiversity, Environment, and Ecological Sustainability Committee, is sponsoring a winter seed sowing workshop next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday after that, the 18th, at 1 p.m. at Bouquets of the Valley. That's a newish business on Cottage Street. It will teach people how to properly sow and prepare seeds for the winter, and it is being led by a very knowledgeable native plant enthusiast, Tamara Smith. I can provide, if people want to email me, I'm also on the Bees Committee, ozaret@easthamptonma.gov. I can provide you with information to sign up, as can Councilor Smith as well. Thank you for participating. And again, that's the 18th at 1 p.m. at Bouquets of the Valley. They also have information if you want to stop into their store. And I think that's it.
Okay. Councilor Dunham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to, acknowledge the loss of life in town, tragic loss of life. So I just want to, was thinking about that during our moment of silence. So just want to kind of share those condolences. And also, just want to make folks aware, we had our first Municipal Leadership Academy on Monday. It was great. We have 9 participants, gave an overview of the budget, and we're going to start the process now of meeting with all of the department heads, well, most of the department heads, many of the department heads. Folks were excited to be there, excited to learn about Easthampton governance, and many of them were very interested in learning about how they can get involved in many of our committees and commissions, et cetera. So I think this is an opportunity. The Municipal Academy really provides that foundational baseline understanding of governance to really encourage confidence in people to join the various committees. So so very excited about that, and I hope that it continues to grow in the future, but just want to give that update.
Thank you, Councilor Denham. Councilor Kwasinski.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
For just a kind of a point of information, we're mentioning the Municipal Academy. Is it possible for someone to join late, or would you recommend waiting until the next?
Yeah, I would recommend waiting until the next one. Round. Yeah, because I just don't want people to get into the habit of showing up for this, not going to the next, but they get into the habit of it's a 9-week program, and so I think the more that we can encourage people to stay committed to those 9 weeks, I think the better.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councilor Smith.
I wanted to add 2 things. First, I'll talk about the Municipal Academy because I really appreciated being a part of that, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge the work of you, Councilor Dunham, to really put that together. I also just wanted to thank the participants and the mayor and our finance department for staying and really explaining that to everybody, and it's just really great to have. And the second thing, I just wanted to explain a little bit about the whole flowers thing. Anyone who knows me in Easthampton knows that for the last couple of years, I've really been into flowers. And so through our local Buy Nothing group, I had asked local gardeners to donate any seeds that they had, and I went over to different yards and I collected all the seeds, and we've sorted all of the seeds. So we have an immense collection of local pollinator Northeast plants that are local to Easthampton that would be redistributed in Easthampton to really create more of a pollinator hub. So if you've never done that kind of gardening before, and if you've never done winter sowing, I really encourage you to come. It's fun, it's community building, it's great to have your hands in the dirt in the middle of the winter, and it just feels good to be doing something for the earth for very little cost and very little energy. So just wanted to give that plug. I'm really proud of this work, and I'm really excited for the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that puts us at 6:14. We have less than 10 seconds. So I think in that 10 seconds, I could entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, nobody's against, nobody abstains. Public hearing's open, and this is an interdepartmental transfer that I will transfer to Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So yes, we've got an interdepartmental transfer here for $39,300. This is being transferred from the reserve fund to various accounts, but it's being transferred to fund retro pay and supplemental payments for the rest of this fiscal year for our AFSCME union employees who just completed a collective bargaining agreement. So for those who don't know, we have a number of City Hall employees here who were not previously unionized, and they did unionize recently, and the AFSCME, the American Federation of State and Municipal Employees, is the union that they chose to go with. And so for those, since they started bargaining, they're going to be getting some retro pay, retroactive to when the bargaining started, I believe, and then also in some cases their wages will be somewhat higher than what they were in our FY 25 budget, and so this $39,000 just covers the difference between what was budgeted for and what they will get with their newly agreed upon contracts.
Okay, and I know that we have the mayor available, so I'll turn it over to you, Madam Mayor.
HR Director Emily Russo had a conflict, so I'm here in her stead. The request for retro is how we approach all collective bargaining agreements that are, aren't signed right on the beginning of a fiscal year. We don't pre-plan, and then we come here and ask for retro. This is a particularly exciting collective bargaining agreement because it is the first in this building, and before organizing, this group of employees had waited almost 8 years up until 2017 to get any kind of a raise or COLA because they were not organized. So this is super exciting, and they're excited. And just so I don't know if there are any questions, but Emily wanted somebody here to ask those or answer those.
Anybody here? Councilor Denham?
Thank you for so I know that Emily talked about it, but just for the sake of the community. So retro, can you just give those dates so that people are kind of aware of what we're talking about? I know we're retro and end of fiscal year.
Yeah, to the end of the fiscal year. So we had a MOU signed, and we typically do this before the whole contract is ratified. We do a memorandum of understanding so we can get the wages going. And we, like a contract, you have to have a contract before the money is released. That was signed. We calculated retro back to the beginning of the MOU when it was signed, and I don't know how the exact, from now until the end of the fiscal year. For clarity, the amount of this collective bargaining agreement is already in next fiscal year's budget. So it's not that we would have to on July 1st, we're not coming back for additional funds. It's, we like to use the reserve as sparingly and as to the penny as we have to, and we never know when a contract is going to settle. So this is what we do, and it's already, it's across this building and across maybe 4 or 5 departments. So you'll see it's not a hunk of an increase, but it'll be distributed through the departments.
Continue.
This is really just a statement, so I just appreciate the work that your office and Emily had done to work with the employees. I think the employees of this community are the backbone of the services and everything that we provide to our residents and things like that. So I'm very happy that they're happy that they were able to have this increase in in pay, particularly given the fact that we are living in uncertain financial times. And so I think for us to be able to do that and to use the funds that we have within the city budget to be able to pay our city employees more funds, I think that that's something that I wholeheartedly support and appreciate your work and Emily's work. And I'm sure Hadel's had some
Everybody had a hand in it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so just very proud to be able to vote for this today.
I wanted to mention too, so the large majority, the super majority of these employees are women, which, and they are folks who work in mostly, I think before COVID, it was like, oh, those are the women who have the calculators. Of course, COVID hits, and they are the backbone of all of us getting paid in health insurance and making sure minute meetings. So it was a real pleasure. We would have liked to also include department heads in it, which is a longer discussion, and it just really didn't make sense under labor laws. But that's kind of the next is either personal contracts or a separate union for department heads, because we pay them as employees and they don't get salaries. It's all on hourly. So that hopefully is the next step in the next year or two. But thank you for the support and hearing this out. Again, this is the third union that has come into existence since I have been mayor. Really proud of it, but super proud of the employees who've all come to the table. I think we ended up with 3 really fair whole agreements for everybody around the table.
Great. Any other councilors have any questions? Anybody from the public have any statements? Okay, see anybody online have any comments? Okay, seeing none? All right, take a motion.
I'll make this request in the form of a motion. Request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $39,300 to be transferred from reserve fund to be transferred to various accounts as listed in the attachment. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: retro pay and supplemental payments for the rest of the fiscal year 2025 for AFSCME union employees per the completed collective bargaining agreements.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against or abstain? Motion passes. And that brings us to the next one, which is a CPA supplemental appropriation. Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President, acting president. I don't know what to say right now. Okay, anyway, so this is an item from the CPA. It specifically refers to the CPA account reserved for open space. It's a $75,000 appropriation that would fund the design and construction of 2 additional pickleball courts in Montauk Park. These funds come in addition to the number currently, excuse me, a 5-figure sum of money that was raised by the Easthampton Friends of Pickleball privately to help fund this as well. So there's 2 courts right now. From the testimonies of the very large group of people who came to our CPA meeting to talk about this, my understanding is that it is actually quite difficult right now to get court time on those courts. There's a lot of interest and a lot of people wanting to do this at the same time. Just for whatever it's worth, that really was one of the largest crowds I've seen come for any sort of appropriation. We've gotten some ordinances that have been contentious. We've got some resolutions. I don't think for appropriation I've ever seen that many people in a room. And so it's clear that the demand is here. And I think, the funds are available. So I think this was voted on unanimously by both the CPA committee and the finance committee to approve this appropriation. So I don't know, I was actually sort of shocked that there's not like 100 people here right now, but maybe we didn't do a good enough job publicizing this tonight, and it is quite cold. But in any case, I think that that's about all I have to say about it. I think that the idea is that the court's construction would begin, in the spring, as soon as, municipal construction could begin, but hopefully with any luck there, the pickleball enthusiasts would be able to use these courts sometime this calendar year.
Great. Does any counselors have any questions? Counselor Denham.
I just actually was wondering if I could ask a question about the fund. So I know that Chair Peak alluded to it, but could you, for the sake of the community, could you just let us know the community's contribution to this? Just so we're...
And Ava, can you just say your
Yeah, my name's Ava Gerstal. I'm the CPA coordinator. I'm a city employee. So at the time of application, the total matching funds from the community was $25,800, and that was raised by the Friends of Pickleball in a series of private and business donations.
So the total cost then is $100,000 for the two courts?
Yep.
And can you share with the community what's the balance of the CPA fund?
Yeah, so the CPA balance for open space is currently, so with this current budget cycle, $110,000 was appropriated into the balance for open space, and then there was a previous appropriation of $33,000, and then this appropriation is $75,000. So after this, if this appropriation is passed by City Council, it will leave $1,949 in the open space account. But there's the undesignated account, there's the reserve fund, there's several other accounts that other open space or recreation projects can be funded out of.
Yep, perfect. So, thank you very much. And also just echoing Chair Peak's, very excited for the community to have this and to expand that. I know as someone who dabbles in pickleball, I often play when it's 105 degrees and then there's nobody on the courts, but it is, it's really great. It's I think a point of community building, and I think it's really wonderful to see the amount of people out there. So I'm really happy that the council is able to support this and the work with you and the CPA and all of that. So I think it's a really nice community project to be able to help build community.
Thank you. Any other counselors? Counselor Smith.
I would just like to add, one of the things that I really like about the pickleball courts is that this is a sport that's really widely marketed towards older folks. And so when you look at a lot of past CPA fund uses, a lot of them, have been really to supplement our youth sports and our youth spaces. So it's just really nice to see this one that's very intergenerational. I know they started teaching pickleball in school, and there's just a lot of different, just as a gerontologist, it's really nice to see. And I just wanted to make sure that's noted.
Counselor Kwasinski.
I just wanted to say that I appreciate all the work on this project, and one who dabbles it even less than the counselor at my side here in pickleball, but enjoys a game or two on occasion. I've come to really find this to be a great resource, and I appreciate that the older folks and the younger folks, everyone can really take advantage of this. So this has broad base and it has support, and I appreciate having there be a community contribution in addition to the CPA contribution. That always gets us very excited here on the council. So thank you.
Councilor Zarrett.
Yeah, this is very exciting to see, and for the variety of reasons that were already mentioned by my colleagues, but one thing that we've been talking about a lot more recently, but what we saw when these first courts were built was the utilization of Nonotuck to expand access to non-traditional sports and non-team sports, whereas for the most part, these were athletic fields, soccer, baseball, et cetera, and some pavilions and a swimming pool and some playgrounds. Really, with the advent and the building of those original pickleball courts, I think that was, in the modern era, the first expansion of something that was more accessible to really anybody. And I certainly would give some credit to previous Councilor McCoy for his involvement and the people that showed up in those CPA hearings when we built the first courts and really raised a racket about this, like to physically raise a racket. They weren't making a lot of noise in the room. And so it's exciting to have seen that really catch on, and to Councillor Peak's point that there's no court availability. So not only was that project successful, we're really build on the success and expand, and that we're able to find ongoing support in the community and fortunately money for it. So I think it's really exemplary of what we've been doing in finding new utilization on Nonotuck Park, and now with other discussions such as a dog park there and a skate park, but also really thinking, we've had these conversations about reimagining the use of that park. I think this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So this is exciting. Obviously I support it, but just seeing expanded uses is great too.
Any other councilors? I guess I can say that, as someone who's lucky enough to get to teach the next generation to play pickleball, it's exciting to see more pickleball courts going up. And I look forward to Councilor Denham beating me again on these new courts as she has on the old courts as well. So it's pretty exciting.
What was the score?
I don't even remember. It was lopsided. So I look forward to the next round. Anybody from the public have any comments about these pickleball courts?
All right.
Okay, anybody? Oh, it looks like we have an online hand. So it looks like John Mason. Welcome to the meeting. You can unmute yourself. Can you hear me, John? Looks like we lost him. Okay, well, maybe John will join us again. And he's the Parks and Rec director, but it looks like we have another one, Carolyn Anderson. You can unmute yourself and let us know your thoughts on this.
I'm Carolyn Anderson. I live at 29 Bayberry Drive, and I'm also one of the Easthampton Parks and Rec Commissioner and the co-applicant on the CPA grant application, along with the Parks Department, John. And I just want to thank you all for the kind words that you said and for supporting pickleball and the expansion of pickleball access in Easthampton. And we're really excited as someone who's been in very close contact with the Friends of Easthampton Pickleball. There's a lot of energy and a lot of gratitude towards the city for the support. So thank you.
Thank you. And John, I see we have you back. Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to thank CPA, City Council, and the Friends of Pickleball for really taking on the challenge of raising the funds for this project. When we designed the original two, they were designed for expansion if needed, and through the years it's definitely been warranted. So I want to definitely thank them. And it is if they're on a Saturday morning, it is quite packed down there. So thank you to all who support this project.
All right, thanks, John. And does anybody else have any comments before we have the motion? Seeing none, Councilor Peak.
All right, I'll make this request in the form of a motion. Request is hereby made for the approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $75,000 to be appropriated from CPA reserved for open space, $75,000 to be appropriated to Nonotuck Pickleball Court expansion, $75,000. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: for the design and construction of 2 additional pickleball courts at Nonotuck Park.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? All right, motion passes. And I would entertain a motion to
close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. And we've done our communications. I don't have any communications. Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to share with us in the mayor communication?
No.
No. The brevity, love it.
All of that.
Okay, so let's move to committee reports. Finance, Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we met last week to discuss the 2 items that we just had public hearings for. I believe we'll be meeting next week, although I think there's, I haven't exactly figured it. Well, is there, sorry, I just saw you. I just saw your email. Yeah, so we're going to have to figure out when, but I do think we'll be meeting next week.
Okay. It will be posted.
It'll be posted.
All right, we just need to remember it.
Yeah, I just need to get in touch with JT and figure out what's going to work for everybody. Yes. And other than that, I think...
New business?
Yes. Do we... Sorry, I don't have the appropriation...
Got it.
I can...
There you go.
Thank you. There's one new appropriation that will move to finance now. So I'll make this request in the form of a motion, and I'll also request that we set a public hearing for this item for January 22nd at 6:15 in these chambers. So request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $1,344 to be transferred from Highway Professional Services, $1,344 to be transferred to Highway Professional Services, $1,344. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: prior fiscal year bill for police detail.
Okay, so we have a motion to send the $1,344 Highway Departmental bill to finance and a public hearing for the 22nd at 6:15.
Second.
And we have a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any abstentions or noes? Seeing none, it is there. Does that conclude?
That concludes, yes.
All right, thank you, Councilor Peak. Public Safety, Councilor Zaret.
Thank you. We have not met since our last meeting. We will be meeting next Tuesday, the 14th at 6 p.m. in room 1. We will be discussing, I think, I'm just looking here. Oh, the West Street thing is still. Yeah, we'll be discussing the Daily Field item. I did put a call out for public input and alerted the public through social media to give their input there. And then the intention is I will also bring language to that meeting for the traffic rules and order. And then we'll plan to set a public hearing at at our next meeting. We'll make a request for a public hearing likely. We will also continue to discuss the request for a citywide speed limit that has been in discussion in that committee, and I'll bring language for that as well. There was some communications from some residents about concerns at the West Street Loudville Glendale intersection, and I encouraged those individuals to come for public speak under roadway infrastructure and pedestrian safety items. And I'll be reaching out to members of police and DPW to be present at the meeting so they can comment to the members of the committee. And we'll review the language of the traffic rules and order, assuming that we have time. Again, that's an ongoing, non-pressing issue. I thought I did this last time, so I apologize that I did not, but I'll make a motion at this time to extend the review of the language of the traffic rules in order. This is the request to consider a citywide speed limit and the proposal reverse traffic direction on Daily Field Road, 90 days for each of those, please.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to extend those 3 items by 90 days. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any abstentions or noes? Okay, motion passes.
And as always, please drive safely.
Yes.
This concludes.
Yep.
Oh, I do. Yes, I'm sorry. Please drive safely, and I have a new business to move.
You have new business.
Let me just pull that up 1 second, please. Unless you have it right there, but you're saying it's down here. Yeah, 1 moment. Talk amongst yourselves. Sorry, farther down? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a proposal for removal of Brewster, it's Brewster Court?
No, it's Brewster.
Oh, it is Brewster Avenue. For removal of Brewster Avenue from the list of one-way streets this will be a traffic rules and order amendment, not for immediate consideration. The proposal is to amend traffic rules in order, Article 6, Section 1-41, and the proposal is to remove Brewster Avenue from the list of one-way streets. It's no longer a public way. I'd like to move that to public safety in the form of a motion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or noes? Okay, motion passes.
And thus concludes.
There we go. Thank you, Councilor Zarrett. Councilor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. President. The appointment committee last met on January 6, 2025 to discuss the appointments of Holden Sparacino to the Manhan Rail Trail Committee and Heather Lord to the Conservation Commission, both who had expiration dates of December 31st, 2026. Just to give you some brief background, Holden is a lifelong bike advocate who bought a house in Easthampton 5 years ago. He mentioned that the Manhan Rail Trail was one of the major selling points for buying a house here in Easthampton. He currently works for the Division of Ecological Restoration, and I know he sees it this way, and I felt the same way, that ecological restoration and bike advocacy go hand in hand, which I think makes him and his experience as a natural fit for the committee. He has been to 4 meetings so far, and he also received a stamp of approval from Barbara LeBombard, who is the chair of that committee. So I think that's pretty good. Yep. Heather has been a resident since 2004. She currently works for the Center for Food, Agriculture, and the Environment at UMass Amherst in the Research and Extension Planning and Reporting Department. She wanted to get involved in local government and serve our community now that her daughter is full grown, and she saw that the Conservation Committee needed somebody to do work with them. She did report that she had a series of conversations with Eva Gersel, our conservation agent, and then also started attending meetings. The last thing that I will say is that she also uses self-guided education to learn more about conservation as a personal value, so that's an ongoing process for her. The committee voted 2-0 to recommend Holden and Heather, so unless there are any questions, I move to appoint Holden Sparacino to the Manhan Rail Trail Committee and Heather Lord to the Conservation Committee, both with term expiration dates of December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstain? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. And then next on my report, I have an expiring agenda item. So in the form of a motion, I'd like a 90-day extension for the ongoing agenda item request for recruitment of board and committee vacancies.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against or abstain? Motion passes.
All right, and then the next item on my report is to move some new business items to committee. So in the form of a motion, I move to send 4 mayoral appointments to the appointment committee.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstain? Motion passes.
All right, and then next, I don't like doing this, it makes me sad, but I am moving the retirement letter of the city clerk and the council clerk to the appointment committee to start the recruitment and appointment process for a new city clerk. I know.
We need a second for that.
Is it possible to abstain?
We need a second.
And it won't make any difference.
Out of mercy for Barb, I will second.
Okay, yes. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain or against? I know
Reluctantly.
that was difficult for all of us. Okay.
All right, and then thank you, Mr. President. The last piece is that the appointment committee will meet next on Tuesday, January 21st at 6 p.m. in conference room 2. We normally meet on Mondays. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so City Hall will be closed. That's going to be conference room 2 here behind City Council chambers, and thus concludes.
Thank you, Councilor. Ordinance, Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. We haven't met since our last meeting, but there are a couple of, just want to remind folks, in terms of the review of the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership zoning ordinance recommendations that was worked on with them. We are just waiting for their meeting for them to kind of provide us some information about their availability and who will be participating in a work group. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then really the only other, well, two other pieces just to kind of bring people up to speed. The amend Chapter 8 to add a new section 8-6 Easthampton Shrubbery Ordinance. We are working with the DPW Director, Director Nuttleman, to identify some spaces that each of us can take some photographs of and also review and have discussion about kind of what are we looking at. I've also invited the new city planner there as well to participate in that conversation. So that will be happening in the next week so that we can prepare for our next meeting, which will be, the 21st at 5:30. So I will work with Barbara to set a room for that. So that will be our next meeting. But I do need to set a public hearing to amend several sections of Chapter 2, Division 3, Council on Aging so in the form of a motion, set a public hearing for January 22nd at 6:15 to amend several sections of Chapter 2, Division 3, Council on Aging.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to amend several sections of Chapter 2, Division 3, Council of Aging. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstain? Seeing none, motion passes.
Great, and that's everything that our committee has to offer Council this evening.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Property, Councilor Zaret.
Thank you. We will be meeting this coming Monday. The 13th at 6 p.m. in room 1. That is just to discuss the utility pole request on Everett Street. And I would like to set a public hearing for that item for the January 22nd meeting at 6:15 in these chambers.
Second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstain? Seeing none, motion passes.
Our other agenda item with the city ordinance request regarding flags on public property. Still trying to figure out appropriate time to plan that and give it the space that it probably needs for the community. So I'll update you at our next meeting. Both of these have plenty of time. This concludes.
Thank you, Councilor. Rules and Government Relations, Councilor Brzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. Acting President. The Rules and Government Relations Committee has lost a member, Omar Gomez, with the resignation. But we will be getting together, I expect, on January 29th at 6 p.m. That's a tentative schedule, where we'll be discussing both items on the agenda, both the review of the rules, and I do expect that we'll be able to report that out at our next meeting after that. And then the charter amendment request on the mayor's compensation, dates for how, when the council can take the matter up.
Yep, and it looks
Those
like
are two, and I'd like to request an extension for 60 days on the rules, review of the rules.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to do a 60-day extension on the review of the rules. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or noes? Seeing none, motion passes. And concludes. We don't have any old business, and our new business has been taken care of, but I do have an announcement that I want to help clarify. We had, the Rules Committee had suggested that we set 2 meetings to review candidates to fill Councilor Gomez's position. Since then, we've received 1 person who is interested, so I don't think we're going to need to have both of those special meetings. So the Monday the 13th meeting is we're going to hold the Wednesday meeting where we can meet the candidate, ask questions, and vote them in, and hopefully even do a swearing in as well. And I think Barbara had made a suggestion, because that was my original plan was to have the leadership reorganization at that meeting as well. Barbara suggested that we wait till the next meeting so the new counselor has a chance to kind of feel things out. And I feel fine with that. So I would take questions. Counselor Denham, did you have your hand up?
That was my concern, but Barbara brought that up, so that was great. Yeah.
Great. Counselor Kwasinski.
I did have one quick note. We had a discussion earlier about the switch in dates, and if we only get one application, how do we handle it? And as I sit here, another thought came to mind, and that was, we had designed there'd be two meetings, one on the 13th and the other on the 15th, I believe, to allow time for the public to give input. We set a process where the applications had to be in. We received one application. We're grateful to have one. But we won't have any time for public input after the candidate presents themselves to the council. And I wanted just to reflect on that for a moment, since it's always good to have transparency, and this is a process we're talking about, not any specific individual, but it might be nice if there be a few days between the time the person comes to talk to us and the time we vote on the matter for the public to give some input into the process. So I guess our choices at that time would be to go back to the drawing board or to move forward. But I just wanted to point that out since...
I appreciate that point of clarification. I think in order to stay within the bounds of open meeting law, I think that, what we should do is if people are interested in meeting the person who is applied, her letter of interest is on file with the clerk, and I think her contact information as well. And so I think that would be probably the correct route, not to have a special meeting. And that way members of the public can still have their opportunity to find out why they're interested and ask questions at the meeting when she is here presenting on the 15th. And I think that probably, again, in order to maintain our open meeting law, we should probably just leave it at that.
Yeah, just clarify? I'm just trying to understand the process so that we leave it open. Someone could come in, view the documents in the city clerk's office, have a telephone number to call, request a meeting with the person, whatever.
Yes.
But then there would be presumably a presentation before the council on the 15th.
Yeah.
Were you suggesting, did I hear you say correctly, that at that time anyone from the public could ask questions at that point, and that would then allow us to have the benefit of the questions, the presentation, before the vote?
I was planning on putting public speak time on the agenda at that meeting.
After the presentation?
I mean, I guess that's to be determined, but I think that I guess we'll have to see. I think, again, it would be at the discretion of the president to decide where in the agenda it would lie. I think precedent is that we do it generally before, but I think that we might be overthinking this, and that, we probably, as long as there's an opportunity for people to be able to speak to the candidate, that we'll be doing right by the candidate. So that is to be determined, and I guess at my prerogative, but I do want the public to have an opportunity to be able to speak, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Dunham.
Well, I now have a question about, by rule, we're supposed to elect the vice president by the end of the second meeting. So does a special meeting count as a...
We did talk about that, and apparently it doesn't.
Okay.
So it would just be a regular meeting. So that's why if we push it one more meeting, we'll still be within the rules.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep. Okay. So I think that's everything on the agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstaining? That concludes. Thank you, everybody.